Against this right back, Charlie.
There's always just that active red back defenders. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on.
And with an introduction like that, what more can I say? Excluding people, deluded. I'm back again. Blessings, new first day of the month. Hope August is kind to you and your loved ones. Smash the like button, comment any thoughts. Make sure you're subscribing and turn on your notification bells, because as we gear up to the Premier League season kicking off, the content is ramping up, and I'm pretty sure I've been spamming your YouTube content feeds and whatnot. Now, Romano has provided an update on David Raya. As you know, we've had a long-standing degree of interest in David Raya. We tried to sign him in the summer that Ramsdale initially signed for us. 2 years odd later in 2023, apparently we could be signing him. Whether he's going to be the number one, whether Ramsdale's going to be the number one, whichever one's going to be number two, how they both are going to play against each other in terms of vying for that number one spot, who knows, who cares? It means we have more of a competitive squad. Things have moved over, as Romano has said. I understand David Raya has reached an agreement in principle with Arsenal on personal terms. Brentford have been informed by the player's side that he wants to join Arsenal, and talks between the clubs over formula price and now expected to accelerate. Hopefully we can get this done before the season kicks off. Probably not going to get it done before the Community Shield or before Monaco tomorrow. I will be doing a watch along of the Emirates Cup, so make sure you're there for that. Now, I've said it and you lot have offered your thoughts. You know, he's 27. He obviously has worked with the goalkeeping coach Inaki Kaya at the club. Mikel Arteta has an admiration for him. You know, he's got good reflexes, great leadership skills, into the point where, you know, you always see Brentford at set pieces. He runs over to the coaches and gets information and things like that. Lovely passing range, great player as well. I'm happy for it. It gives us more of a competitive squad. I'm happy because personal terms don't seem to be a problem. It feels like this has been a smooth ride. Obviously, to us as football fans, these things kind of come out of the blue, and probably David Raya took everybody by surprise, because again, Matt Turner was probably always going to engineer a move away from the club. He can't get really near Ramsdale and play games, but we would have thought the last thing we'd have moved for is another goalie, and it's popped up out of the blue. But in the back burners of the footballing world, as we know, little rumbling talks have probably been going on. He's already played his hand. Brentford have already played their hand. They've said they would like 40 million for the man. They said that they would like to sell him if appropriate. His contract is running down, and he has a year left, a bit like when Declan Rice was at West Ham, and he's rejected 2 contract offers. It's sell now or lose out. And despite the fact that they've lost him, they signed him for £3 million, and they've got their money's worth. To get 20, 30, maybe not in Arsenal's case, in my opinion, but 40 million, that would be good business from Brentford. Obviously, personal terms have accelerated. That tells me that's not an issue. But crucially, we need to agree a fee with Brentford and things like that. I know Ivan Toney's not going to be able to play the next few Premier League games, to say the least. But, you know, let's have a conversation around Ivan Toney while we're getting this done. But personal terms are not an issue. He's informed that his camp have informed Brentford that he wants to join Arsenal. Now it's about agreeing a deal. Let me know your thoughts on David Raya versus Ramsdale. Ben Jacobs has said Balogun has asked Arsenal to drop their asking price. Has already said he won't go on loan. Inter felt 45 million was too high and have now bid for West Ham's Gianluca Scamacca. They haven't entirely ruled out signing Balogun, though. They've let Edin Dzeko go, and Lukaku, they've not been able to get him permanently. So we'll have to see. Balogun feels Arsenal have added 10 million extra to the fee, and it's pricing him out of the market. Arsenal argue their valuation is more than fair given his 22 goals last season at Reims and potential. Some at the club want 50 million as a minimum. Keep an eye on West Ham. They haven't moved for Balogun yet, but do like the player. Multiple Premier League clubs have inquired. And again, I am on the fence. I understand Arsenal, you know, in a day and age where players are doing things for 5 minutes and they're going for a lot of money. We're entitled to ask for whatever we want, anything from 35 to 50 million for Balogun because of what he could be. We need to get a sell-on clause. I understand Balogun's frustration as well because, you know, as I said, and I'm sure some of you would agree, foreign clubs have money, but they're not going to buy Balogun off the back of one season for 50 million. They probably want to get him as cheap as they can. Does his thing, whether that's at Inter Milan or Monaco or Leipzig or any team he's been linked with, does his thing there for 18 months, 2 years, and he's sold back to the very market that he was bought from, really and truly. So he's allowed to feel he's overpriced, as we know, not just in Balogun's case, but in the man we've discussed with David Raya, maybe even Latvia at Southampton. Obviously, the degree of the length of contract plays a part, but as the market tickles over, you know, clubs have to stop showing have to start showing their hand and stop this game of poker. I think 35 to 40 million is more than fair value for Balogun, considering he's played 10 odd times. I understand if Arsenal want as high as 50 million quid, really, because again, he's nowhere near his surface. I'd say for Arsenal, the gamble is he's a young player. He hasn't scored 20 plus league goals for years. If he has a season like he's just had, or has a worse season, then obviously his value is going to be adjusted. And again, if you're trying to buy Balogun, whether that is West Ham, for what it's worth, if he goes to a Premier League club, we need top money. But if he goes to West Ham, Inter, Leipzig, Monaco, AC, all the teams been linked with, they're probably relying on Balogun to probably say, you know what, I've done pre-season, I've kept it stum. It's clear that I might not be as key to the plans or essential to Arteta's plans as I'd like to be. I'd like to go. He's already made clear I want to go on. I'm not going on loan. So they're probably, if you're trying to buy Balogun, a bit like us with Declan Rice or anyone else, if it gets to this, you're probably relying on the player to kind of lean on his current employers and get them a bit mad and kind of force the hand. You don't really want to keep unhappy players. I'd love Balogun to stay. I think fans are overrating him at this moment and putting him on a level he's not, but I think he's had a solid year out in France, and I think he could have a future at Arsenal. Obviously, he's a Haylender. You're seeing what the Hayland boys are doing. That being said, if Hayland can't progress players to the first team, if we can sell for a profit, why not? Balogun has barely scratched the surface at Arsenal Football Club. Maybe his future just lies away from the club. And again, as we get better as a team, there's going to be, in theory, less opportunities widespread for young players, really. A guy like Bukayo Saka is always going to come through, whether you've got Manchester City's team or when he did initially come through with Smith Rowe and all of them guys, when they really started coming to the fore, not really a playing squad. But the vast majority of players, Smith Rowe needed a bit of time, Nelson needed time, and Nketiah needed time, Balogun needed time. There's going to be, Patino, pathways blocked. That is going to be a natural byproduct. If West Ham want him just because they took us around the houses and because we know you got money now, because you ain't bought a player, you had to have had a budget for the market before we sold you. You sold us Declan Rice. Now you got 105 million. You need to throw some Wonga on that, really and truly. He has previously been linked with Brighton. It hasn't happened, but everybody's interested. Everybody's interested in everyone. Placing bids, having bids rejected, opening official dialogue and channels to get a player is a completely different thing, people. So we'll have to see with Balogun. Ben Jacobs has also said on Balogun. Balogun has indicated he doesn't want another loan. That means a sale is likely, given game time at Arsenal could be limited. Inter turned to Balogun after calling off their pursuit of Lukaku, but Arsenal have raised the asking price to around 45 million, which is over 10 million higher than Inter are prepared to pay. I mean, if you can make the 10 million up, you give us what we need and you owe us that 10 million and you run it, why not? I think 30 to 45 to 50 million is more than value. Again, if I was buying Balogun, I wouldn't pay 50 million, but if I was in Arsenal's position, I would demand 50 million. Not helped by the fact that his contract is up until 2025. Equally, if I was a foreign club, I'd say, boy, he's done it for 1 year. What if we give you 50 million and he don't do it again? Even though, respectfully to Serie A, because I rate the league, I've seen some Bandulu players go over there and look quite decent. I think Balogun would be a great signing, and to play for Inter Milan would be a privilege, people. That's why Inter are turning to West Ham's Gianluca Scamacca, who is likely to be a cheaper option. Inter are trying for under 25 million euros and have already seen a bid rejected. So lowballing, essentially. Chris Wheatley has said, Trusty, an American player like Balogun, he's in demand this summer, attracting a lot of interest from championship teams and more recently Premier League teams. Sheffield United are in advanced talks to sign him, still waiting to find out if that's a permanent or loan deal. Arsenal do see potential in the player, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was a loan with an obligation or a straight loan. So maybe we say, you know what, Trusty's a decent player. We'll send him out on loan, see how he develops again, build off the Birmingham loan, and then we might make more money. Equally, Arsenal might say, you know what, we spent money, we've probably got more money to spend. Let's try claw some money back. And if Balogun, who's probably got 10 appearances, if that for Arsenal can bring us 35 to 50, if we can make a quick profit selling my man for 5 million, you've seen a bunch of under 21 players leave, and obviously there's going to be some more movement with some fringe players. They might just say, you know what, best of luck to you, insert a sell-on clause, maybe even a buyback clause if he does show some potential, and we keep it moving, essentially, people. So honestly, nobody knows where Austin Trusty's concerned. But that being said, Ryan Taylor of the Not Evening Standard, of the Daily Express, has said Trusty is set to join Sheffield United on a permanent deal from Arsenal. Fee is 5 million, as reported yesterday. Viewed as superb business, as the USMNT defender was identified following consultation with Colorado Rapids, which is also owned by KSC and was valued at £1.5 million in 2021. So it's a quick prof, really. You sure you don't want to, he's not good. You should buy Rob Holding, really. You try flog him off as well, really. For what it's worth, we all know KK of Napoli was never going to join Arsenal, but there you have that. We need to go back over to where we was. So, yeah, that's in relation to Trusty. In relation to Kudus, people, it all depends where you read, because Mr. Con Marble Halls has said Arsenal are currently discussing a deal for Ajax's versatile midfielder Mohamed Kudus. Allegedly, his agent has been in London this week to talk to both Arsenal and Chelsea. The player ideally would like the Arsenal move, with the club active in negotiations now. Somebody rightly so asked him about it, because on the 25th of July, he said, as it stands, Arsenal are not actively exploring the deal for Mohamed Kudus. Then he said that wasn't a week ago. Now, to be fair to Con Harrison, because I do think he's got a good track record, not that I want to praise or critique the in the nose, I wait for official channels, but that just shows you what we think we know and what is actually happening in the footballing world is ever changing. Things can change in an instant, and where Arsenal have done themselves the best of good is we've got our three key targets in Timber, Rice, and obviously Havertz in early. We've been proactive. Now we can be proactively reactive. Kudus available, Raya, it looks like that's available and things. And ultimately, we'll get a better squad. Let me know your thoughts on Kudus for what it's worth. He's versatile. He's 22 years of age. He's shown the temperament for Ghana in the World Cup, and he's shown it for Ajax. He gives us depth if Saka's not there on the right-hand side, and he can play in other roles. We all know Arteta's got a fetish for versatile players, and rightly so. So bring him to the carpet if it could be done. But where we have been hearing with Kudus, we're focusing purely on outgoings. Now, I've said it before. I don't think it's a case of Arsenal need to sell before we can buy. I think it's just a case of we tied down players to new contracts. We've got some players into the club. Let's focus a bit on getting rid of some players, either on loan or on a permanent basis. Big up young Ben Cottrell, who I believe's left the club as well. You'd imagine John Jules, Charlie Patino, Brooke Norton-Coffey, Miguel Aziz, under 21 players of that ilk probably go on loan or maybe even leave permanently as they look to make inroads in their own futures. Marcelo Flores. Can't imagine, for the names I said and maybe some others, under 21s football is going to help you really and truly. You can train with Arteta in training as much as you like. Minutes are currency. You need to be exposed to first team football. But it all depends where you read for Kudus, because Jacobs has said, I think Arsenal are quite content to sit back at this point. They've had a great window so far. They spent a lot of money. So I think Arsenal will be looking first and foremost to resolve the outgoing situation before they move. And that will include advancing on anything for Kudus at this point. I mean, where you look at players that actually need to go, I would say Rob Holding, Austin Trusty, Balogun. These are players that for one reason or another, it looks like they're out the door. Clearly, Pepe, Tavares, Lokonga, Cedric, anyone I've missed out of that ilk, they're not levels. So we'll have to see, but it appears that it's Arsenal and Chelsea. Obviously, Ten Hag's over there at United, and apparently they've got an interest. So we'll have to watch this one play out. Apparently, Man City are willing to pay 50 million for Miguel Olise, and actually Roy Hodgson has been speaking about they face a fight to keep hold of their talented man. Clearly another player that if we couldn't get Kudus, I would like him. Can play as a winger, can play as a 10, can play all about the shop really and truly. English, all of that sort of jazz. But it doesn't appear that we're in for Olise. 1 minute he's got a release clause of 35 million. Now they're willing to go as well as 50. And they've also been linked with Doku, Jeremy Doku. So clearly City are looking for a winger. Whether that was always going to be the case or if that's in relation to Mahrez departing the club for the Middle East, I don't know, people. So we've currently spoken about Kudus, about David Raya, about Olise. Once again, Roy Hodgson on Olise said clubs are circling around him and we're going to have a fight on our hands to make sure he stays with us. So we're going to have to see how these situations develop, people. But rest assured, anything that comes out, I'll get videos out for you lot. So let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Don't forget to smash the like button, boost the engagements. One love to everyone watching the ads. Check out the rest of the other vids. One love.
So there's always just that active red flag defenders, I think, like